Hi and welcome to episode 32 of the This is Reportage podcast. My name is Alan Law, I'm the founder of This is Reportage, and I'm a wedding photographer too. Excited to bring you the fantastic Marissa Joy Daly today. Based in the US, Marissa is an international multi-award winner, including 3 Reportage Awards from us, was one of our judges for Collection 13, and was just totally lovely to talk to. Stick with us today as Marissa talks all about how a year in Italy was a catalyst to her photography career, finding out that someone had stolen and used some of her images and dealing with that, how she had Two Mann to photograph her own wedding and what she learned from that, her experience of judging for us and tips for submitting, why she's not keen on fruit or working out, and much more. Hey Marissa, how are you doing?
Hi, Alan. How are you?
I'm really good. Yeah, really good. Thanks for joining me. How's things
Thank
with
you for
you?
having me. Great. Things are doing okay. How about on your end?
Oh yeah, fine, all good here. Yeah, because where are you? You're in America, aren't you?
I am in Los Angeles.
Okay, cool. I've never been. I need to go.
Oh, that's great. I know the time difference between you and I is quite substantial.
It is, isn't it? It's like, is it 8 hours, I think? So it's yeah, 7 o'clock at night here, and is it 11 with you?
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's mad, isn't it? It's so cool, and you sound so clear as well. The wonder of modern technology. It's amazing, isn't it?
Isn't
It's
it
awesome.
crazy? I know we now during the quarantine time, we've been doing so many Skype calls and Zoom calls and FaceTime, and all of our family are all across the US. So it's been this is when the digital age is really nice, really connects everybody.
That's so true. Do you imagine if we were going through this like 25 years ago with dial-up internet or something?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know.
That would be
Yeah, we're
bad.
very fortunate now.
It's true. Yeah, and how are things in general for you over there? I mean, in the weddings front, I guess you're not shooting at all at the moment. And yeah, how's it looking for you?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm starting to plan some things are starting to slowly open up here in LA. So I'm starting to book a couple like engagement sessions and family shoots,
Oh, that's cool.
with social distancing, of course.
Right, yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's been an interesting couple of months. All my weddings for this year have been mostly postponed. And I
Mm.
I do a bit of international weddings, so it was kind of sad to see those go away. I was gonna go to Cuba.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
I had one coming up, well, it's an international, but in Hawaii. That was more just because I was very excited to go.
Yeah, I
Um,
bet. Awesome.
so, but my clients have been amazing. They're very understanding. And at the end of the day, I always tell them, obviously the wedding is a beautiful time, but you've met the person you're going to be with, and that's the most important thing. So, yeah, they're all doing okay. We're all doing all right.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. Yeah, same for me. All my weddings postponed until end of
Okay.
September, but I don't know
Yep.
don't know if those will happen either. But
I know. Yeah, we just don't. It's very hard to predict how it's going to be and what the wedding industry will be like.
mm,
S me too. Some of my weddings have postponed to October, November, December, and we're still not sure if those will happen either.
yeah, it's so true. But hopefully next year it'll be a busy,
I
busy year for
know.
everyone. But
2021, right? That's the year
yeah, fingers crossed
for
anyway.
everybody.
Cool. Okay, let's go right back. What was the young Marissa like growing up? I read that you drove a lot and that the car journeys are maybe not the most fun with you have 3 older brothers, is
I
that right?
do. I'm the youngest. I have 3 older brothers. Of course, hindsight's 2020. So back when I was in it, it was pretty miserable because I had 3 older brothers who picked on me. But
Oh yeah.
looking back, those experiences were so valuable. My mom she and her family would do humanitarian work in a lot of the Navajo reservations in the Southwest.
Okay.
So we often would drive all the way out there and spend time there. And it was just a beautiful time to be exposed to different culture, and seeing the different part of the U.S. was really awesome. And because we were such a big family, we always drove because it would just be too expensive to fly everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we had family up in New York and Florida, so we did a lot of driving. And it was nice because my grandparents were always with us, which was very valuable. And
Oh, that's
um,
cool. Well, all in the
yeah,
same
so
car. Must have been a big car or in separate
it
cars.
was a big Suburban.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, and I was somehow always in the third seat. But it was great. I look back on my childhood in a very fond way. And my family and I are very close. So it's been a great time, and I was exposed to photography very early, so I feel very fortunate for that as well.
Oh, wait, how old were you when you got into that then?
Oh, I can't remember. My grandfather gave me my first camera. It was an old Minolta.
Oh, okay.
And I remember I can't remember how old I was. I was very young, very, very young. And I remember I would just go crazy and I would shoot one roll of film of one subject, like a butterfly or a flower. And I remember him saying, you got to expand, you got to keep looking around, up and down, all around. And it's funny, I use that today with even wedding photography. You can't just see and photograph what's at your eye level. You need to look up, you need to look down, you have to go all around. And
That's so
um,
true.
yeah, so it kind of followed me throughout my whole life.
That was great early life advice.
I
That's really
know
good.
he's a smart man. He was a smart guy.
Yeah, definitely. Because I say that with documentary photography as well, how everyone
Yeah,
sees the world at the same, eye level. So as, if you can
exactly.
shoot at different angles and different perspectives, then it makes such a world of difference, doesn't it?
It does, and and I think a lot of people gravitate towards those images because it's different. It's not what
Mm.
they see with their own eyes. Yeah, and then I kind of during my high school experience, I was interning with a wedding photographer,
Oh,
and this
cool.
was like right on the cusp of when wedding photography was getting a little bit more interesting. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It was maybe 15 years ago or so. God, I'm getting old. But and I remember to me, she saw things so differently and started really pushing the envelope when it came to creative photography.
Okay.
And I loved that idea. I loved it. So I kind of carried that into my college years, and I could just keep going and going. But yeah, it was great.
No, well, that's cool. It's really interesting. And what at college did you study photography at all, or was it something different? Or
So I went to Boston College, which I majored in human development, like psychology
oh,
for
okay.
child and adolescent development, and I minored in photography. And I kind of had a little bit of an internal struggle when applying for colleges because I loved photography so much, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to a program that was solely just photography. So I went back to my mentor, Abigail, and I asked her, she went to NYU, and I was like, well, what do you think I should do? And she said, go to a liberal arts school because you can always go back to specializing in something in photography, but, getting that well-rounded education will help you with your photography as well, you
Mm.
know? And so I did that. I minored in photography, and I spent a semester abroad in Florence, Italy, my junior year, and that kind of solidified that I wanted to do this professionally.
Oh, really? Okay. What happened in Italy then that made it like that so strong in your
Oh,
mind? That's awesome, by the way, that you had a year in Italy. I think that's so
oh
cool.
man. I mean, does anyone have a bad time in Italy?
That's so true. I've only been once. We went to Rome
Oh,
Rome last year and it's amazing.
oh,
Yeah,
Rome's
loved it.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, it was just I fell in love, and I actually really fell in love with street photography there.
Oh, cool.
Um, so I don't know. I think I just got buried into like the culture and the vibe, and I was shooting all the time, and I went to Venice for Carnivale, and they had all these beautiful, it was just so beautiful and so rich, and I
Mm,
loved being able just to capture that, to be there and to visually show how it made me feel.
that's cool.
And I remember I was in Florence, and I called my parents, and I said, Mom, Dad, and they were like, what's going on? I said, I just want to let you know, when I graduate from school, I'm going to be a photographer.
Oh, wow.
And I remember my mom was like, well, we already knew that. We were just waiting for you to come around to it.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, and those words were meant so much because they were so supportive of, my creative journey. And, my parents, my dad's a physician, but my mom's a teacher, and she's always been very creative. My grandfather was a classical clarinetist. So
Oh, wow.
they always really helped cultivate my creative side, and very encouraging and supportive. So I was very, very lucky in that respect.
Oh, that's cool, isn't it? That's really, really great. That's really important.
Yeah.
Do you, when you were in Italy, do you speak Italian? Were you speaking
Ooh,
of
I mean, so I grew up learning Spanish, and then when I
it?
went to Italy, I took Italian, and luckily those languages are pretty similar. And so I started speaking Italian fairly well. And then when I came back, I got Spanish and Italian confused so much. But I feel like I kind of just like nixed out both of them, um, which is kind of funny. But I went through NYU's program, and I was mostly with Americans. So I
Right.
wasn't with a family. I wasn't as immersed in the language as I would have hoped.
Mm.
So, but I would love to get back into it. Italian is just so melodic. It's such a beautiful language.
Oh, it's cool, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
Did you have much ice cream when you were there? I just love the ice cream in Rome. It was amazing.
Gelato. I ate
Yeah.
so much. Thank God I walked everywhere. I think our apartment was on like the seventh floor, and thank God for that. Otherwise, I probably would have come back 15 pounds every year. But yeah,
That's
everything
funny.
was just so fresh. The ingredients are fresh, and the gelato. Oh yeah. I mean, it was just a beautiful time.
It is amazing, isn't it? And have you been able to go back and shoot a wedding in Italy at all? Have you ever shot there?
I haven't, and that is on my list. So yes, hopefully somebody soon will bring me out there. The closest I've gotten there is I shot a wedding last year in Switzerland, in
Oh, cool.
Monaco. Uh,
Nice. I've
yeah,
shot
so
one there as well in Switzerland, but in a
really,
different in Verbier, yeah, and yeah,
oh,
it's
and that is also
amazing.
it's just breathtaking there. It is. It's
Mm.
beautiful. You can't take a bad picture.
Well, I tell you, I can definitely.
I don't think so.
But so from that realization, that proper realization that you wanted to be a photographer, how did you get round to like shooting your first wedding? How did that happen?
So while I was in college, every summer I would go back to North Carolina, where I was from, and I would second and third shoot weddings with that mentor of mine. Her name
Right.
was Abigail Seymour. And then one of her friends, her name was Tracy Arney, also would kind of take me under her wing, and I would shoot with her a lot. So over the years, I was starting to make a name for myself locally. And when I graduated, I moved back home. I just saved money for a while I started my company. And I just went around to different vendors, letting them know I was there and I was happy to shoot for them. And, just like any other beginner photographer in a new
Mm.
place, I just said, I'll, shoot your headshots for free, or anything you want to send to me, I'll shoot for free, just so I was getting my name out there.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so I actually booked a decent amount of weddings my first year. And then within a couple months, I ended up moving to Washington, D.C., and kind of went on from there.
Oh, that's cool, cool. So how
Yeah.
old were you when you shot your first wedding under your,
My
your,
first my first
yeah,
paid wedding.
yeah.
I I had just graduated college, so I must have been 22,
Wow, that's
22.
pretty
Yeah.
young. Were you
Yeah.
nervous at all, or I guess you weren't?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course
yeah.
I was nervous. I
No,
was
that's
definitely
cool.
nervous. But I've always been really lucky. I have had really, really sweet clients. And all my clients have really prioritized photography, which, as you know, as a photographer is really a blessing.
Mm,
So they've really valued me as an individual and as an artist. So they always made me feel very at ease. But yeah, unlike a lot of, or I should say, some photographers have and some haven't, but I have only been a photographer. I haven't had another job.
yeah, that's
Um,
quite different actually. That's very
yeah,
cool.
yeah. So it's been cool seeing, just from my little time being a photographer, being just the evolution of photography for weddings has changed tremendously.
That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah,
So what would you do? It's funny how you've never been anything other than a photographer. What would you
yeah.
do now if you didn't do wedding photography? What do you think you would do if you weren't a photographer at all?
So while I was in school, like I mentioned, I was doing human development for psychology, like adolescent and child development. So I actually was, as an undergraduate, I was a researcher for a psychologist in a graduate program, and was very much toying with the idea of going to BC for psychology for grad school.
Okay.
So I think I would probably go back into that. It's something I feel very passionate about, and perhaps even now with what's going on in our society, maybe emphasize a little bit more on human rights,
Mm.
and human rights violations, and just changing everything, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, I mean that would be cool. But oh, mad times at the moment as well, isn't it? It's mad times.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But in some ways it's good, because it means that hopefully things will change.
That's so true. Yeah, it's true. So I think let's go back to photography. I think I heard that you've been in the position where someone has stolen some of your images and used them on their website, haven't you? Which is just awful. It's awful when that happens.
Yeah,
How,
and a lot of. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just going to say, how did you actually find out then? What happened?
So I was shooting a wedding up in Portland. No, was it Seattle? Oh gosh, Portland. And a photographer I admire very highly, Lindsay Stark, was helping me shoot the wedding, and we were chatting at some point during the wedding about copyright infringement and people stealing images, and we were talking about doing the reverse searching on Google.
Right.
So essentially, you just take your image and you plop it into the search tool, and it'll pull up and where your image appears for the most part. And I was heading back from New York from an event, going back to LA, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And so I started taking my more well-known photographs and plopping them in and seeing if anything came up. And it was a red eye too. So it was very dark on the plane, and all of a sudden I saw my image pop up on this photographer's site. And it's funny because like when it happens, you almost want to like nudge the person next to you, being like, "Oh my God, look at this!" But obviously, it's a red eye; they're sleeping, and I don't know who they are, and they don't care. So I went to this individual's website, and I just started seeing that this person was indeed a wedding photographer, and was using multiple of my images all across his social media, and it was his website, his Yelp reviews, Wedding Wire accounts, the Knot account.
Everywhere.
It was pretty extreme. Yeah.
Oh, it's awful, isn't it? It's so awful. In one way, it's like you've made it. If someone's copying it and stealing your images,
I suppose so. Yeah.
But it is awful. What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, like you meant. I mean, it's very much like a violation. You feel violated in a lot of ways. And it's not only the work that I poured into creating those images, but it's also the documentation of my clients, that I call friends, and they're appearing on some other person's site. So it just felt very, very bad to me. So I contacted an attorney and had him draft an email to send to this individual, saying that they had to take down all the images and stuff like that. And over a couple of months, it was a lot of back and forth. Finally, we got that person to take down all those images. And that's why I always urge photographers to monitor their work and keep an eye out for those who are, fraudulently displaying them, deceive. And it's also like deceiving those clients, like his clients, which, and there was like a huge discrepancy between this person's personal work and my work,
Oh man.
Yeah, it's like someone who was just maybe starting out, and it was a long battle, but luckily we were able to get that over with.
That's awful that it still took a few months though. So even just like the first email or letter, it's a normal person would just take it down straight away, but they didn't.
It's funny because, some people, I think initially they said that they had purchased the images or something, and this person was also using other professional photographers' work. So it was mostly mine, but I could tell that I couldn't identify the other photographers, but I could tell there were other photographers' images being used, and that's why it was also like I felt a duty of on an act upon my other fellow photographers to make sure that this person took him down. So yeah, it was you would think that they'd be like, okay, I'll take him right down, but it actually took quite a bit of time and back and forth.
Oh, well, it's awful. I mean, it's happened to me once, quite a few years ago, as far as I know it anyway. And someone just messaged my Facebook page saying, "Do you know some of your images are being used on this other photographer site?" And it was awful. It was someone who had been following me on Instagram, and been nice, and they were just using my images. It was a really strange time.
I know. Did they take him down?
Look, yeah, they were in Belgium, and luckily my father knows someone who works very randomly in like the Belgium government or something. So
Oh God.
I know,
Nice.
just got them to send a quick kind of message, and they were down within like 24 hours, I think it was
Oh,
at the
that's
time.
great.
But
That's
yeah,
good. Yeah,
but
it's a terrible feeling though, huh?
it is. It's awful, and there's never an excuse for it. People know that they're doing wrong by doing that. There's never an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you were able to get it down so quickly. Yeah, this person kept kind of defending it, and I'm like, there's just no defending it, man. I mean, he kind
Uh,
of take those pictures down.
yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah.
awful. Oh, but anyway, let's change tack and go on to a happier subject. So
Sounds good.
let's change tack completely. What are you are you a telly person? Are you watching any good Netflix series at the moment or anything?
I am. I love TV. I
That's
do.
cool. Yeah,
So because you have children as well, right?
I do. Yeah, 5 and 8 year
Yeah.
old. Yeah.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah. So my son's he's almost 18 months.
Oh,
So for this past, year and a half or so, or even when he was a newborn and, I was up all night nursing or, I would have to stay awake. So I watch a lot of Netflix. So I went through Schitt's Creek, which I really enjoyed. Just a
oh,
nice
cool.
lighthearted comedy. And then recently my husband and I started rewatching The Office.
Oh, the American version or
The
the British
American
version?
version? It's the
Oh,
American
cool.
version, yeah.
Cool.
And we started watching Arrested Development again too. So I don't know why we've been in a kick of rewatching things we've already seen, but
We go through
um,
stages of doing that as well. It's funny. There's so much
yeah.
new content out there, and yet you end up. It's so
Well, we
funny.
watched what else we watched some new things. Of course, we watched Tiger King like everybody. It's funny. It was so funny because everyone had such a response to it about how crazy these individuals were, which obviously they have you seen it?
Yes, yeah, mad, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. But I'm such a animal person that the entire time I'm just focused on the tigers.
Oh, right, yeah, yeah. And did
That's like the sad part of the whole thing,
it is sad. That's true. Did you hear this week how Carol Baskin's been awarded the zoo now? Then it's going to be hers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for real. The
I
judges
didn't hear
said that.
that.
Yeah, so she's going to own it now. It's going to be hers. So yeah,
Wow. Yeah,
I know.
that's an interesting story right there, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned the American Office. I need to watch that because we've only just recently, like 2 weeks ago, finished watching the UK Office. So we watched that for like the first time, really. And have you watched the UK version at all?
I started it, and then for some reason I can't remember why I didn't finish it. But yeah, I had seen a couple of episodes. But yeah, I need to get back into that. What else are you watching?
What are we watching at the moment? Oh, we're watching Dead to Me. Have you heard of that or seen that?
Yes.
Dead.
Oh, I watched the first. Was it only two seasons? Yeah.
Yes, I
Right?
think so. We're only halfway through the first series, but really liking it actually.
Yeah. I watched the first season, but I haven't quite started the second one yet.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
those are good recommendations if anyone's looking for something to watch at the moment. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay, what is the first thing or things that come to your mind when I say what makes you happy?
Mm. My family, especially now during quarantine, which really changes our perspective of a lot of different things. Um, it's been tough for a lot of people, but I do try to see on the bright side, and being able to spend so much time with my son, and you can attest to this too. When you have children, you just it's such a privilege to see a child grow and become bigger and smarter, and they start to speak. It's just amazing to see. It sounds very colloquial, but just to see the world through a child's eyes it's really beautiful. It really
Oh,
is. So that makes me very happy. My family, what I do makes me very happy.
that's cool, isn't it? We're so lucky to be doing something that we really enjoy.
It is, and I feel very, I feel very lucky to do what I do. And it's tough with the wedding industry because I'm not going to say that there are days where I wake up and I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do this anymore, or I feel
Mm,
burnt out from weddings, or there are days where you just don't like your job, and
yeah.
I think it's also okay to say that. I know people
Totally.
are very into saying that they're 100% passionate about wedding photography and it consumes their life. And I say, that's amazing. But I mean, I can definitely say that there are days or months where I'm like, gosh, I need a break, you know?
Oh yeah, I totally get that, and I think you're so right there. How it is really important to say, because for maybe people from the outside looking in, we can make the industry appear like it's all roses and gold glittered
Right. Yeah,
pavements and things, and it obviously it's very good, but there are downsides and hard times as well. There really are.
absolutely. Hmm.
And especially at the moment, it's not a good time to be in the wedding industry, really, or the event industry in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah. And, you're not just a photographer. I mean, I can't speak for every photographer out there, but you're not just a wedding photographer. You're a planner, you're a therapist,
Mm,
you're helping out on the day. For me, I develop really special relationships with my clients, and, it spans over a year planning, sometimes.
yeah.
And then if you're lucky enough, you can photograph their children, or, you just see them grow as a family as well.
No, that's cool, isn't it, to be able to do that? Yeah,
That's
definitely.
awesome.
Have you hit a specific point yet, maybe where you have felt like really exhausted with what's going on, like feeling burnt out at all?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I've had that a couple times. And um, for me, I had to diversify a bit what I do.
right.
So right now I used to shoot, I would shoot 30 to 40 weddings a year.
Well,
And it was just too much. I was spreading myself too thin. And I didn't like not being able to be um, what's the word? So connected with my clients.
right, okay.
I've been able to kind of find a healthy balance for me. It's what works for me. And now I shoot maybe 10 to 12 weddings a year. And in the gaps of that, I shoot here and locally in Los Angeles. I do a lot of work for a lot of the Hollywood studios with like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so that kind of mixes it up for me a bit, and it's a different way of being creative,
Mm.
and it's just a whole different type of photography, which I think keeps my brain a little sharp, which is good.
That is cool. How did you get into that kind of more corporate or commercial kind of side?
Yeah, it was funny. I kind of fell into it when I moved here. So my husband and I moved here about 6 years ago, and a friend, a sister of my college friend, needed a photographer for an event they were doing, and the singer Usher was kind of like hosting it.
Oh, cool.
Um, and she was like, "I can't pay you for it, but it's great exposure." And I was like, "I just moved here. I have no problem just shooting something for free and just kind of
Mm,
showing my worth."
yeah.
Um, it was a fun thing to do. So I did it, and the agency that kind of produced the event, I guess, got a hold of my images and loved them so much that they ended up hiring me for all of their future events.
Ah, cool.
And they kind of are affiliated with a lot of the premieres for different TV shows and movies. So I do a lot of those things, a lot of the event decor, which is really, really funny because they liked my detail work so much. And I attribute that 100% because I shoot details at weddings
At
so well.
weddings, yeah, that's so true. That's cool though, isn't it? How that's gone hand in
Yeah.
hand.
And they,
That's
they
really cool.
liked, my other, I would say, I guess, competitors for these events are a lot of Getty photographers who are, I don't want to say they're not creative. That's not very nice, but they're very by the book.
Yeah.
They're shooting very by the book, front flash, right in your face. They're not getting down on the ground and lighting cool things with gels, and
Mm.
that's just not really what they're there for, too. So I do a lot of, I get there before the event begins. I shoot a lot of details. I shoot the event, which is great. It's basically just shooting a really nice, expensive reception.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds fun actually.
It is, yeah. It's nice, easy work, and I've got to meet a lot of cool people.
That's cool. And I think that diversification is just so it's great for a kind of yeah, not getting burnt out and not just doing one thing day in, day out, but also you're diversifying your kind of income streams as well, which is very important.
It is. It definitely is.
So I think that's a really, really good idea. So that's cool. And so you photographed Usher. I guess you photographed maybe some more famous people then, things now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would say probably the coolest thing I've done a ton of premieres and stuff, but the coolest thing I've done over the past 3 years, I've shot um, Jeff Bezos, he has a holiday party every year in his LA house, which
Wow.
has only about like maybe 150 guests, but they're all like A-list actors and stuff like that. And
Oh
I
man.
don't normally get starstruck, but I saw Barbara Streisand and I kind of got like really excited.
Oh, that is very cool. Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
cool.
I'm like, oh my God, it's Babs. So yeah, it's very cool. But they're all those individuals tend to be very, very nice. I think they've made it, so they don't really have much to prove.
Right, yeah.
And I think they're used to being around photographers, so they're often very, very kind.
Oh, that's cool. That's lovely to hear. Because yeah, I
It
guess a
is.
lot of people would maybe expect the opposite, I think, in the way the media's portrayed and celebrity these days. So that's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Has there been a specific turning point in your wedding photography career? Maybe something, perhaps a certain wedding or a certain award or something that's had a major impact on your career?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for me, other photographers inspire me quite a bit. And I have spent a decent amount of time and money in workshops, and just seeing how different photographers work and how they, both on the business side and on the creative side. And I think as photographers, we always have to continue that education, because we're never going to know it all and we're never going to be perfect.
True.
So for me, over the years, I've been really blessed to like get to know some great photographers and be involved in some amazing communities. Right now, I love being in the fearless community, just seeing other
Mm,
people's work and how they push the envelope with the creativity. I mean, it is beautiful to see what people come up with.
yeah.
In
People
your
are so
community, I mean,
talented.
yeah, and it's all over the world. It's very inspiring.
Mm.
Um, in terms of a specific moment or wedding, I don't think there was. I guess there was a wedding a couple years ago. I actually recently shot her sister's wedding, um, and there was a moment. They have it in their tradition before the ceremony. Their family kind of gathers in prayer,
Oh, nice.
um,
Okay.
and they're such a sweet family. They allowed me into that moment, and it's funny when I compare the images. So they did it at her wedding, which was maybe 7 years ago or so, and then last year I shot her sister's wedding, and they had a similar moment. And I've been kind of tickled to see how I have changed as a photographer, because I remember the images from that first wedding. I was a little bit
Yeah.
further back
Okay.
during that moment. I wasn't quite in it. I
Mm.
think I didn't want to interrupt the moment. And, as a photographer, you're always struggling with how close can I get,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And then the images from last year's wedding, I got in there and they trusted me to do that. And I think, that's what you're being paid for, is to get in there and to capture the emotion.
Mm.
And fortunately enough, that those images, a series of those images, have actually gotten a lot of recognition, which has been beautiful. But um, it's been nice to see myself evolve over a similar moment over the years, which has been very cool. And I feel very privileged to be able to be a part of those moments. I mean, I end up tearing up as well. It's just so beautiful.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, it's great it's so important to be so empathetic at weddings. I think that's so cool. You've been able to experience a very similar situation with the same family
Yeah,
from years
I'll have
apart,
to
though, in
share
your
those
career.
images with you. Yeah, they're very cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Oh, that's cool. Um, and you were married yourself not so long ago, I think, and wasn't it? It was two men, wasn't it? Lanny and Erica who shot your
Yes,
wedding. Yeah,
I know. How amazing is that, huh?
that is cool. Very cool. Yeah. So what was that like being on the other side of the camera? As a wedding photographer yourself as well.
It's amazing. I mean, they're extremely beautiful people. They're very creative. They're just to see how they work is just awesome. It's funny because obviously I'm getting married. It's a beautiful time, but I'm also like, oh my God, look where she's like under the table. Like, oh my God, you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's funny because they get being on the other end of it. I have a whole new appreciation for everything that goes on, both for the bride and then also for the photographers.
Right.
And so it was a very valuable experience for me. But it's interesting because when you're in the moment, you're getting married, you're actually not paying attention to how close they're getting to you.
That's cool. That's
And
good to know.
Yeah, and I was always, I think everyone, like I mentioned earlier, we're very apprehensive about getting too close. And everyone knows that Lanny and Erica get close. That's what they do. And they got close, and I didn't take my eyes off my husband. Like I didn't take me out of the moment.
That's cool.
And obviously they got just spectacular photos for us. And I also want to give a shout out to our videographers, because our videographers blew us away. I mean, I have never seen such beautiful cinematic work in my
Oh,
entire life.
cool. Who are they?
They are called Maru Films, Maru, and they're actually out of Amsterdam.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
they're a husband-wife team, and they are just amazing people. And they flew all the way out and helped shoot our wedding. And they just like what they were able to put together was just absolutely gorgeous.
Oh.
It was beautiful. I have a whole new appreciation for videography.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
the level, just like with photography, I guess, the level of videography has just got so much higher and higher, isn't it,
Oh,
over the years? It's amazing now.
yeah, it's amazing to see the evolution of that as well.
So, did you know Lani and Erica before they shot your wedding, or did you just approach them as a potential client, or did you know them, or?
I did not know them personally. No, I think I knew them in the sense of like, the online community.
Mm.
But I never personally met them. I had always been obviously huge fans of their work. And it was definitely tough to choose a photographer, because
Yeah,
I mean, there are just so many good ones.
yeah.
And I actually just had almost my husband choose. I was like, listen, these are the ones that I love. Let me know what you're gravitating towards. And yeah, they were kind enough to shoot our wedding and be a part of our whole wedding weekend. We did a day after session with them, which I started incorporating into my own work for my own clients.
Ah, cool.
Um, yeah, so some of the things that they did for us, I was like, oh my God, that worked really well for me. I'm gonna put that in my business agenda.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, it was very valuable experience. Both obviously getting married was great, and then also seeing them too.
Oh, cool, great. Oh, that's great. That's really cool. That is really cool. Yeah, and you were a judge for us quite recently. It's only a couple of months
Yeah.
ago, I think, in Collection 13.
Oh,
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you again for judging, because I know there's a lot of images to look through. Did you enjoy it in at all?
I did. First of all, it was such an honor. It really was. And again, like your community, it's international. You're seeing people's work from all over, and different cultures and different traditions that people are photographing. And it really changed the way that I now submit my photos to contests and awards,
Oh,
because
really?
yeah, it really changed. It's overwhelming to see. You almost take for granted how good people are.
I
Like
know, this is amazing. Yeah,
you're
amazing.
getting overwhelmed with just like top-notch photography, and you almost feel bad like taking out one because it's just not, not perfect in a way. And I can hear myself saying like, "Well, my photos aren't perfect, and I'm submitted." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I loved being a judge. I loved being able to see the breadth of people's work. Um, yeah, it was a great experience. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, thank you. Okay, I really value your time and expertise. It's awesome. Yeah, as a judge yourself, do you have any kind of tips to help people like submit at all? And I know,
Sure.
yeah, I know because it's
I
very
would
subjective, but yeah, what's your ideas?
Yeah, first of all, it is so subjective. What moves me may move somebody else in a different way.
Mm,
But for me, what I never really thought about as I was submitting is, we all have beautiful moments that we capture. So, for example, the groom seeing the bride come down the aisle for the first time and the emotion that he's going through.
mm,
There are certain um, times of the wedding that happen for everybody. So, you're in charge with how to make that different.
mm,
I saw a million photos of the bride shedding a tear, but why? Like, how is that one different from all the other ones I'm seeing?
mm.
What makes that photo stand out? And sometimes it's the way it's shot, sometimes it's the post production, how they're edited,
Yeah.
how they're cropped, deciding what you're putting, putting in that frame is very, very important. Sometimes if people would just crop in a little tighter or shift your focus a little bit with some dodging and burning, So yeah, I would just think about, the moments that you capture, although they are extremely special to you because they're your work, they're your moments that you're capturing. We're seeing a lot of the same moments. So how can you make that stand out?
Yeah, that's great advice. That's really, really great advice. Thank you. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. One of your Reportage Awards, actually, personally, because you've won some from us, and one of yours, which I think is absolutely timeless, appears to be what it looks like the bride and her dad, I think, in a really emotional embrace. They're in
Yeah.
the kind of left of the frame, and I just love the
Yeah.
composition, the light, the moment, all together makes such a beautiful image. Can you tell us about that one? What's happening?
Yes.
How
I
you
love
got
that
it?
picture. That one's just, and I took that one several years ago, actually, probably at least 5 years ago. That photo was right before we were in the church, right before he was going to walk her down the aisle. They kind of went out into this little chapel on the side, and they just had him. I wasn't actually close enough to hear what was going on, but they had a little moment, and that was his little girl. That was his baby girl, and he just held on to her, and his face, and the way that the light was coming through the window.
Oh, yeah.
Um, it gives me it gives me I'm giving myself goosebumps, which is
Oh, that's
kind of
cool though.
narcissistic, but um, the, but it's I love those. Those are the moments that we look for, and to be able to witness that, to capture that. Um, it was a very emotional wedding. The groom's mother was very sick. So there was a lot of emotion during that day, and yeah, that was just, and it's funny, I didn't even know that they were going into that room. I kind of just followed them. That's why I wasn't very close to them, as in terms of distance. It was kind of a little bit further back from the moment, which I like. For me, it worked. It worked that way.
Oh, it's
Um,
such a beautiful image.
Thank you, because I literally was kind of like peeking in to see what was going on.
Oh, it's so cool. It's great that you followed them to get that. I mean, if you hadn't have just trusted your instinct to follow them, you wouldn't have got it. Yeah, because it is like an empty room, isn't it? That you can see there. There's no one else
Hmm.
there, is there? And
Right.
yeah,
It's not the main chapel. It was this little small one on the side.
it's beautiful. Yeah,
Thank you.
it's just
Appreciate
so
that.
so good. And if anyone's listening, whilst driving or running or anything, if you head to the site, I'll include that image so you'll be able to see which one we're talking about there. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, very very cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's change tack again slightly. Let's change tack. Um, if you had, if you could choose one day in your life to live over and over again, like Groundhog Day. Have you seen Groundhog Day?
Of course.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel like
so
I'm living
good.
it right now.
It is like that, isn't it? This is coronavirus times. It is like that.
Yep.
Yeah, but if you could choose one day in your life to live over and over again, what day would you choose?
Oh man. It's
I
funny because I'm
know
sure people would say like, "Oh, my wedding," or
you don't
the
have
day
to say that.
or the day my son was born, but that hurt. So I'm not going to go
Oh,
there.
okay.
I would say, it's not a specific day, but growing up in North Carolina, my parents have like a little lake, a little cottage on a lake,
Oh, nice.
and it sounds very stupid to say, but it's kind of like my happy place. It's very peaceful, and we spent a lot of summer days there, and it's just a beautiful. We would spend the day just like out in the boat and swimming and just sitting on the dock, and I don't
Nice.
know. And at night, like you could see all the stars. I would do one of those days. I think having my family there, just being in my happy place.
Oh, that's really nice. Have
Yeah,
they still got that place?
they do. They do. They don't go there quite as much because they actually moved down to Florida, but they're still hanging on to it.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Yeah, I wish I could give you that ability to just like live
Ah,
that over again.
I know. Yeah. Well, what can you
Is
do?
there something that you really love that most people seem to hate?
I love that people hate. Let's see. I love that people hate.
It's a straight, or you could reverse it. Anything that you hate that most people seem to love.
That I can definitely do.
Okay, let's do that one.
Yeah, some unpopular things. I don't like fruit, which sounds super weird. I
Oh,
know.
wow, that is
I know.
unusual.
I don't eat any fruit. I don't like fruit. I don't like the consistency of fruit.
Oh, no
Um,
fruit at all, not bananas, no.
I will actually eat bananas. That's the only thing I will
Okay,
eat. And
that's
then I
cool.
guess raisins, if you consider that. It's a dried fruit, but that's it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it was definitely funny having a child because my husband was like, "You are going to buy fruit for him, right?" I was like, "Yes, I'm not a terrible mother. We'll buy him fruit. I'm just not going to eat it."
That's funny. I wonder where your fruit
Yeah,
aversion comes from.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a huge fruit person. Oh, I actually thought about this question because I think something on Facebook was going around about that like a couple months ago, and I was thinking about it. I'm trying to remember the other ones. Um, I don't like working out.
Oh, really? It's no fruit, no exercise.
I know, I'm a very healthy person. Um,
That's quite funny.
I
But you
think
have to say you've got to be fit to be shooting weddings though, really, haven't you?
you
You must get
do. You
exercise. As
do.
a mother, you're getting exercise all the
Oh
time, I
yeah,
think.
he keeps me on my toes. He's running around. But in terms of like cardio exercise, I absolutely hate. Um,
Yeah, I hate running. I just hate
oh, I
running.
can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah.
Mm.
Or like the elliptical when you're like stairmaster and you're climbing and you're climbing and you
Oh,
don't get anywhere. I can't do
yeah.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awful. I don't, yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm with you.
I can't think of much more right now, but
No, those
I'll
are good.
Google it.
Those are good. Do you shoot? By the way, do you shoot solo for your weddings, or do you always have a second shooter, or do you do a mix, or how do you do it?
I almost always shoot with a second shooter, except for very small, intimate weddings. So, elopements or weddings, probably less than maybe 60 people, I'll shoot alone.
Right. Okay.
Um, yeah, sometimes like the wedding I shot in Montreux, it was about a 30-person wedding, and I shot that alone. Um, but I almost always have a second shooter. I like it for the obvious reasons of having the coverage, and then I also like the camaraderie.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
true,
being
isn't it?
able to share the day with somebody else who's going through the same thing. And I usually shoot with similar people often, and so it's just nice just to kind of get back together with the same people.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, definitely. That's cool. Do you know what? I need to do it because I've only
You don't
ever
do it?
shot solo. No, I've only ever shot
Wow,
solo. But so yeah, I need to try
good
it, I
for
think.
you. You're probably a better photographer because of
Oh no, I don't think so. I don't think so at
it.
all. No, I think, and a lot of people who have seconds, I understand how it can be so good for you to get the kind of more creative shots as well when you've got someone, kind of backing you up in a way.
Yeah, it's given me a little bit more freedom, especially now where I feel like I can take that step. I can say, okay, you get the safe shot. I'm gonna try something different, and sometimes it
Mm,
doesn't work, and sometimes it does.
mm,
Um, so just and oftentimes it's just shooting a lot and not putting your camera down and just getting lucky.
mm. No, I guess that's true. Yeah.
It
Do
is.
you
It's
do you
luck.
shoot as much as Lanny and Erica? Because I know they shoot quite a few, don't they?
Yeah, I do shoot a lot. I shoot a ton. And probably one of the most valuable things I've learned from them is they don't put their camera down, especially in between moments. That's one of their biggest thing is they shoot through moments. So, if the bride puts her dress on and you're shooting that and then it's done and you're, moving on, it's best to even like just keep going with the moment. What's going to happen after? And a lot of times that's like when the good stuff happens. The mom gives her a hug or she's looking at herself in the mirror, something like that. And so, yeah, so I try to just keep shooting through the moments.
That's good. I think that honestly, again, is just absolutely brilliant advice. It really is. Something we've not really talked about on any of the podcast interviews, but I think it's an interesting thing is to do with client meetings at all. I mean, do you meet your clients in person or is it generally over Skype? Do you have any advice about client meetings at all?
It depends. I actually don't shoot too many local weddings here in Los Angeles.
Right.
I do a lot of more I guess sometimes they're destination weddings for me. Sometimes it's where they live.
Mm.
But a lot I will try to do a Skype or Zoom. I always call my clients pretty much as soon as I get the inquiry. I send them my pricing. I send them examples of two full most recent weddings I've shot.
Oh,
I
cool.
try to
Okay.
schedule a call or a FaceTime if I can't meet up with them in person.
Mm.
Um, I have them fill out like a little worksheet, almost like a questionnaire, so I can get to know them a little bit better.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Okay. What,
so I
before the,
think
the meeting or?
before the meeting, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's good
Yeah,
advice.
I asked them just, how do they meet? How did the proposal happen? What do you guys do for work? Just so I have a little bit more understanding of, where they're coming from. What are they envisioning for their wedding? Like what's important about photography for them.
Okay.
So and I think it's good because it gets them thinking about it as well. So that way when we chat, they have a little bit better understanding of how they want to convey what they want out of their photography coverage.
Right. Yeah, that's good advice, actually. And that's really good advice.
It's worked so far.
And in terms of marketing in general and kind of getting yourself out there, what's been the most effective for you, do you think?
So I'm probably not the best on this one because I don't really advertise anywhere.
Right. Okay.
Luckily, I think word of mouth has been pretty good for me. And then just referrals. So a lot of the weddings I shoot, I'll shoot a wedding and then the bridesmaid from that wedding will get married in a year or two, and then she'll hire me for her wedding. Or Facebook has been great. If the client posts photos from the wedding, a lot of that just gets a lot of exposure for me because people see those images and then they'll contact me and just say, oh, I'm friends with, your past bride and saw they were on Facebook and love those pictures, just wondering, if you're available. So
that's cool.
that's
Do you
been
provide
good for me.
like kind of lower res images when you deliver clients specifically for people to put on social media and things?
So I do both. They have the ability to download web-size images and high resolution.
All right, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of client gallery system do you use?
Right now I use Pixieset.
Cool. Yeah.
But I'm thinking about switching, which sounds bad, but I've heard PicTime has been really great with campaigning.
Okay.
And
Yeah. I use QuickTime.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, it is really
Oh,
good, and it's really nice, and a great
it
team behind
is.
it as well.
Yeah, they seem
Yeah.
like great people. It's a beautiful design, and I've just heard, yeah, great. I'm not very good with like in-person sales or anything like that. Don't
Mhm.
ever ask me about it because I'm terrible.
Okay.
um, and I've just heard people really rave about being able to get great print sales from PicTime with their campaigning and their promotions and stuff like that. So I've been entertaining switching.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, you should give it a go. Obviously, I don't have shares in their company, but it's really, really good. It is really good. It's a
Oh, it's
great
good to hear from
ability.
you.
Yeah, it's really good, honestly, and a great ability for clients to make their own albums if you want to let them do that as well. It's a
Yes,
really
I
nice
saw that.
system. Yeah, it's really nice.
That's
Um,
wonderful.
what advice would you have any advice for people who have been shooting maybe for quite a few years but are feeling, maybe a bit just tired of their work or just they feel like their career is not in the place where they want it to be?
hmm yeah, I mean, I think we can all relate to being there
Mm.
at some point in our life, if not multiple times.
Yeah.
For me, whenever I feel like I'm in a rut, I do a couple of things. I often go to a museum
Oh, cool.
because I feel like seeing artwork that's not photography can inspire you in a different way. So I like doing that. And then I like being part of a photography community, whether that's someone local to you, just like a little meetup with your fellow local photographers,
Mm.
or going to a workshop. Or I went to WPPI in February.
Oh, I was there as well.
Oh no, I missed you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's too
funny, isn't it?
bad.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been in like 6 years. And so I went and I got to meet people I've always wanted to meet. And just being amongst people who go through the same thing as you makes you feel not so alone. And just to say, okay, what I'm feeling is normal, and a lot of people are going through this, and what can I do to get myself back on track or re-inspire? Or yeah, I mean, I just think the more support you have from a community is better. So
Right.
and even like the online Facebook groups, people are very supportive of just saying, okay, like, I'm trying this out and it's not working for my business. What do you guys suggest? And people will comment and be very helpful.
That's so true. We are lucky in our kind of industry, how generally nice and supportive and open people are, aren't we? We really are.
Yeah, and even now, especially with the quarantine and people giving away free education and
Mm.
free workshops online, I mean, that's been a really beautiful thing.
That's true. Cool. And a really great advice. Cool. Oh, Marissa, I think we've got time just for one more. This has gone really quickly.
Yeah.
I think we've got time just for one more question.
Sure.
So other than photographic skill, what skills or attributes do you think wedding photographers should have?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, I think compassion and empathy, I will say after, and patience. I mean, I think you're not, like I said before, you're not just a wedding photographer. You're often a planner. You're helping them out throughout the day. Sometimes it's very chaotic and you have to calm them down. And I know perhaps some more documentary photographers wouldn't agree with that because they tend to not want to be seen or be talked to at all because they just want to document what's going on. But for me, I wouldn't consider myself 100% a documentary photographer because I do get involved and
No, that's great. Yeah. But there's no
yeah.
right or wrong way. And
No,
you
of
can
course
still be
not.
documentary and still be talking and to your clients and be helping them out though.
Yeah, and I've listened to some photographers who are purely documentary, and they say, well, will you tell your clients to move here or move there? And they say, no, it's just how it is. But a lot of times with my clients, it's like I think they know the images that they want, so they'll just say, should I get ready over here? And I'll say, whatever you want, but they kind of want my feedback,
Right.
and I don't,
Yes.
and they want the guidance, and so. I want to make sure that they're feeling good. And of course, I'd love to get, the photo in a better light. So
Yeah.
I don't mind once in a while kind of stepping in and saying, yeah, why don't you go over there?
Mm.
But yeah, I think also being on the other end, being a bride recently, yeah, I think what I really loved about my photographers were them getting really into the moments, not stopping. And they made sure I was okay as well. They would help me out too if I needed someone to help me with my shoes or, stuff like
That's
that.
cool.
But they
Yeah.
have a level of friendship. It's a familiar friendship feeling, even though I don't know them really well. And I think that's great to build that relationship with your clients, even if you've never met them before. Um, it's just putting them at ease.
Oh, that's so important, especially when you're with them virtually all the time at a wedding and so close to them. It's so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I mean, I had a bride, they were doing an outdoor wedding and it started monsooning, like downpouring. Like it was awful. And they had to move everything inside into this like crappy cabin and it was tight and the lighting was awful. And she's besides herself, and I
Mm.
went in there and I said, no matter what, you're getting married. It's going to be beautiful. I calmed her down as much as I could. And later she told me, she said, you're the reason why I was able to go through with it.
Oh,
Having you there made me feel so much better.
oh.
And to be able to
That's
provide that for your clients too, I think is very important.
Yeah, that's invaluable, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's gorgeous. That's so nice. Oh, Marissa, that's awesome advice. And I just really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you
Likewise.
so
Thank
much.
you. You have
Oh,
amazing
no,
questions.
oh no, you have amazing answers. So
Thank you.
that was awesome. Thank you so much. Honestly, that was really brilliant. Anyone's listening now, while running, do head to the site. And I'll show lots of images of your work and links to your website and that specific reportage award we spoke about as well. And yeah, honestly, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. You stay safe and hopefully I'll meet you some other time. Maybe at WPPI another time if you go again.
Exactly. I hope so. Looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you so much, Marissa.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the 32nd episode of the This Is Reportage podcast. So lovely talking to Marissa. I hope you enjoyed listening. Head to thisisreportage.com to see more examples of her work, including the specific reportage award that Marissa talks about in the episode. We also have lots more episodes of the podcast already released, with photographers such as Ross Harvey, Alison Bounce, Tyler Workin, Denise Motz, Valter Antunes, Rocio Vega, and so many more. And if you're not yet a member of TIR, check out all the benefits of joining us, including an unlimited number of images on your profile, 60 Reportage Award and 18 Story Award entries per year, invites to our physical meetups and parties, exclusive discounts, and the recent huge addition to membership, exclusive video content. There's already nearly 10 hours worth of videos to watch where some of the world's best photographers share their tips, thoughts, and experience to make you a better photographer. New videos will also be added regularly. Collection 16 of our awards is currently open to submissions too, Deadline is 23:59 BST on 24th of July 2020. No poses, nothing staged. This is Reportage. And this is bye for now.